And welcome to the Security Guy and CIA Spy Pod broadcast. I am Robert Siciliano, and this is
Peter Warmka. Yeah, you almost had it backwards there. You could say the CIA spy and the security guy. That'd be okay, Robert.
that would be fine, actually.
Yeah, it would.
We'll start doing that.
How is everything going up there in Boston?
It's getting warmer.
Yeah.
And it's all good, man. I'm going to a 60th birthday party tonight because I am 56 and I hang out with those who are turning 60. So yeah, that's going on in my life.
That's good. These are good years, right? I mean, people are concerned when they get up there, in their 60s and above. But I think actually there's a lot of great things. In some ways, I think it's even a better part of our lives than when we're younger. I mean, we maybe don't feel physically as well, but I think there's a lot of other things that are much more fantastic.
Well, I agree, and I appreciate that. And like I've got a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old girls, and one of the things that I've been saying to them since they were like little, is to know thyself. And I is that like a Shakespeare thing? I'm not really sure.
It sounds like it would be.
Yeah, I've been saying that to them since they were little. Like, and I use examples like, I remember like being in my teens and I had a flipping splinter in my toe. And I remember walking around on that splinter for like weeks. And finally one day I'm like, what is going on with my toe? And I pulled up my foot, I look at that splinter, and it was like my skin had formed like a ring around that splinter. And the splinter I just popped it right out because my body was like, expel this thing. Mm-hmm. And my mind like dealt with it for all this time. And I didn't even realize what was going on because I didn't know thyself. And I literally my body was telling me over and over again, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And it was expelling it on its own. And my brain wasn't even recognizing it. And that is know thyself. And at my age, I got a pretty good handle on myself, and I'm still learning, but I have a good handle on myself at this point. And that right there, I think, is a big part of the battle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree 100%. And I think we realized too that, we started put value on our own lives and what we have and what we've been able to accomplish and what we still want to maybe accomplish. And, it helps us to pause and just really appreciate what we have. And, and knowing that we're going to be moving on someday too. And I'm helping us prepare for that, So, I mean,
in a word, I call that gratitude.
Yes. Gratitude. I call it wisdom as well. I really think the older we get, most of us, not everybody, but most of us, the older we get, probably the more wisdom we have gathered.
Yeah. And I also know at this stage in my life that the moment I think I know everything, I know nothing. I'm still learning.
Right. That's right. And we're here to learn today. So what do we have going on?
Oh, man. So real quick. So I got a call from a financial service professional who's a client of mine, client in regards to I speak to his people. Occasionally, in regards to all things, cyber, social identity, and personal protection. And dude, he has a client that was engaged in a $600,000 crypto scam. And him and his wife lost all that money. They thought they made $2.2 million, and they went to cash in, and the money was just evaporated.
$600,000
in a crypto scam. Like this is a guy I know, his client, like a couple that he knows very well. Like he's broke bread with them, and like they're filing for bankruptcy in their mid-70s. Here's a couple that like all their lives they worked, they saved, they invested, and they thought they were involved in some investment scheme, and they lost it all. Like it just happened.
There's a lot of this happening. There is a lot of this happening. It'll be interesting to see because they're all kind of similar about how they're approached by these people. That it usually starts up as a a friendship, and they kind of like cultivate these people for a period of time. I think in some cases they might call it pig butchering, right? But they cultivate it for some time before they start drawing them in. Oh, about this crib, I made a lot of money on this. Hey, I like to share this with you. So it seems, it seems very welcoming and inviting. Someone's, want to share and help me, right? So they happen to trust it. And then, they can make it look like they're making money. They can give them false, fabricated statements showing that their investment has, quadrupled, but yeah, it's all a charade, and so many people are falling for this.
So he's bringing me down to his offices to speak to his people in response to what's going on with this particular fraud. So I have, and he wants me to speak to it, like what specifically happened to this couple and how to avoid it, right? So, and I've done this before, but I'm doing it again, posing as, so basically what I've done is how we get all these wrong number texts
Yes, all the time,
emails, all the time. So I've been responding to them, and I currently have 3 cyber girlfriends.
Well, they think they are your girlfriend.
Well,
you know better.
He probably thinks that I am his girlfriend, and or his boyfriend, whatever it is. And like one of them is pretty hot, right? And so like I'm in the living room and I'm responding to these WhatsApp messages, and my wife is like, "Who are you talking to?"
I can just see it,
and I show her the picture. She's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "It's my crypto cyber girlfriend." And she's like, "What?" And so I'm explaining to her what's going on, and even though I explained to her that this is somebody who is likely being trafficked in Taiwan, like Southeast Asia is where a lot of these perpetrators of these crimes reside. They're boiler room type operations, but the people that are actually doing it are actually they've actually been sex trafficked in some way, like they're being kidnapped. So the person that I'm actually communicating with is likely being held against their will. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. There's a lot. There's been a number of reports on that, even documentaries showing these human traffickers. You feel, you got to feel. You got to feel sorry for the people that are human trafficked and forced to commit crime. It's really the people above them that are really the masterminds and the ones that are really doing this malicious, act. But some people in the middle are also victims.
Yeah. So my communications back and forth with she's basically an Australian cosmetics heiress who also models and dabbles in crypto. And so I've been communicating now with her for a little over a week, and it's a bit tedious because they know that the goal is to build a trusting, loving relationship with their victims, to get them to just trust. And that involves a lot of small talk. And I've been engaged in that small talk, which is tedious as all hell because I don't have time for any of this. But I've been doing it just to the end goal here is to get access to whatever crypto investment they have, so I can screenshot it and or take my live audience to it to show them this is actually the scam right here. This is what it looks like. But to show them the text trail, the chain, but at the same time to show them live, this is what it actually looks like. This is like an AI generated site that shows you in real time the money you're making and so on. And I'm actually going to probably at some point make an actual investment that I know is going to evaporate. It'll just be, maybe $50 to $100 and go with it, but so I will let you know, or the audience know in the next few weeks how it plays out.
No, these were through WhatsApp.
So initially they contacted me via text message.
Okay.
And I responded, it's like the initial message is like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah, right.
And my response is, "Hey, what's going on with you?" And and it just all kind of played out from there.
Because I think we talked about this in an earlier episode, but how a lot of these things are also being done through through social media platforms like LinkedIn, right? They create a profile, and there was back in 2020, I believe, that there were at least 1,000 fake LinkedIn profiles that were taken down, and they all were pretty much like cookie cutter, attractive young Asian women who had studied in China, got a job in China, relocated to the United States, got their master's degree from one of 5 different prestigious U.S. universities, and then became programmers or senior programmers for SpaceX. So then they reach out to people, and people are like, wow, this person is attractive and very, very intelligent, right? Very intelligent. So when this person gives me advice later on, hey, this cryptocurrency thing is the real deal, and they end up trusting them. And so, I mean, there's a lot of this going on also through LinkedIn.
Yeah. And so my Australian crypto heiress has been, fattening me up. And I've been just nice to whoever this person is, because I know that they're just doing a job. And ultimately, I have a goal here, and I'm not, gonna like belittle them or be mean to them. And I'm kind of conscious of that. And
right.
I also know that like a little bit of it is AI generated too, because you could see like how perfect their responses are and how perfect their grammar is.
Yeah.
So I know like it's all, it's part human, part technology and all that. And so, yeah, I'll let everybody know how it plays out. Meanwhile, 23andMe, which is the DNA genetic testing company, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy just over the past week or so. Due to declining demand for its services and a significant data breach affecting millions of its users. Co-founder Ann Wojcicki resigned as CEO but remains on the company's board. The bankruptcy raises concerns for the future handling of genetic data and 23andMe's 15 million customers, while the company reassures that current data storage and protection practices will continue during the bankruptcy process. Experts advise customers to take proactive steps to safeguard their information. So a couple things, Peter, before I give you the floor here. So number one, the data breach that they had, I don't know that it was an actual data breach, so much so that, Peter, are you doing something over there? Because I'm hearing some nasty sound coming out of your end, I think.
No, not right now.
Okay. Nope. It was like a lot of scratching. So I think what happened was, from what I recall, because I was called to do a bunch of TV in response to the data breach, that it wasn't so much of a data breach than it was credential stuffing. It was a credential stuffing attack where of those 15 million or whatever it was, I don't know how many tens of thousands, their data was being stuffed into 23andMe's login servers in order to get access, due to the fact that the same credentials they were using for 23andMe were being used in other websites for logins, and bad guys took that data and stuffed it into 23andMe and got in a number of different ways. And 23andMe then had to say, hey, there's been unauthorized access due to the fact that your credentials were used in so many other data breaches. And that's how I'm pretty sure how that data breach occurred. All that being said, 23andMe is still supposed to be on top of other data breaches. And when their clients' credentials are being used in multiple websites, 23andMe is supposed to send out a notification saying, hey, we've discovered your information that has been used in other data breaches. Your same credentials are being used here. You need to change that stuff right now, and or implement two-factor authentication ahead of any data breach, not allowing their clients to log in without two-factor authentication. So, I mean, they still hold some level of responsibility for what is considered a breach, even though it's credential stuffing. That said, there's all kinds of recommendations right now for their customers. Peter, what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, people have various reasons why they might share their DNA. They might think it's, hey, what can be the harm? They might think, oh, could be, good reasons to provide it, whether it's for research, whether it's for, leaving behind something where you have your legacy, but the danger really lies if there's a potential threat actor who could gain access to this DNA. And I was amazed. I looked this up when I saw this article, how many different companies are involved in DNA collection and research. And in addition to 23andMe, there's like 10 other companies. So one of the ones that probably are best known for this would be the one that a lot of Ancestry, right?
Yeah.
Ancestry DNA is probably one of the ones that has the most people providing their DNA samples to. I mean, it could sound kind of cool on the surface, right? Because you provide that information, and if other people, the more people that do that, the more you're able to actually connect, develop your family history through the use of the DNA. But okay, now what really concerned me more is when I looked further into this, of those, total of 11 companies, including 23andMe, there's actually 6 that have a Chinese affiliation. All right. For example, 23andMe's affiliation with the Chinese is they have an investment from Sequoia Capital China, which is a Chinese venture capital firm. Okay. Ancestry DNA has their parent company, Ancestry DNA, was acquired by the Chinese company, the Blackstone Group, which has investments from Chinese investors. Okay. Helix, Helix, is a major player in the genetic testing industry as well, and has investors including Illumina, which has been involved in some partnerships with Chinese companies in the biotech space. Then there's Geonomics, also referred to as Nebula Geonomics, which doesn't have a direct Chinese affiliation, but there's some linkages with them and regarding the biotech innovations. And then there's BGI Group, which is a global leader in genomics research and biotechnology that has a affiliation with MGI Tech. Finally, there's SNpedia, which is a Chinese biotech company that's also developing DNA testing. In any case, so these are at least 6 companies that do have an affiliation with the Chinese, which I'm always a little bit more sensitive to the Chinese, as we spoke earlier. I mean, I've been victimized by the OPM hack, which is a considerable amount of information that they've taken from 22 million individuals, and they've hacked a lot of other systems. Now, this is one more possibility, right, of collecting DNA from U.S. persons and potentially using it in the future.
Yeah, I have not done the whole 23andMe thing. When I saw when this first came out and it started to make news, I would be called upon by various media outlets in regards to the privacy implications of it, and I was like, no. Whenever I'd be asked by a journalist or a reporter or whatever, like, what do you think? I'm like, I'm worried enough about giving my social security number out for 10% off at a shoe store. Never mind, my DNA to a private company that I don't really fully know the implications of that. And over the past so many years since they've been out, not only have we seen the data breach, but we've seen the connecting of the dots that have been done as a result of the Ancestry and the 23andMe data being available to people being linked to crimes.
Oh, yeah.
People being linked to various, murder scenes and such. And, family members of the actual perpetrators. And in some cases, it's resulted in catching the bad guy, which is obviously, a good thing. In other cases, it's stained the names of good people that didn't deserve it. So, just providing that level of information, that there's a deep dive into what we call sensitive data that I'm just not comfortable giving out myself.
Yeah.
And it is definitely not a need to know. At best, it's a nice to know. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm Italian, last name being Siciliano. I'm pretty sure that, I probably have some African blood in me too, due to the fact that, Sicily and West Africa, I believe, not too far away from each other. I could have my geometry wrong there, but whatever. And interesting, my stepmom celebrating being Irish her entire life, a few years ago, did the whole 23andMe thing and found out that she has zero Irish in her. She's not at all Irish.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty hilarious. So,
hey, I have something just came in and in the mail today. And let me tell you what it is and my observation, or just to point some things out to me, and you tell me if this is a scam or could be a scam. I received a letter from a insurance group here in supposedly in Orlando. The company really exists. I mean, but the letter itself comes in and it's this 2-page. One is sort of just explaining something about my home, my property insurance, and that they've been able to find insurance. They quote an insurance amount, and it's like about a fourth of what I'm currently paying. After I've done a lot of checking about what's available in the market, this is like a fourth of what I'm paying now. And it's a letter it has a letter and everything, but it's just like printed out black and white. Okay, it has the name of an individual, but the letter's not signed. It has on the letter the website, and I went to the website. The company exists. It shows on the letter. It also has it's accredited by the Better Business Bureau, the BBB. I went there, and in fact, the company is accredited, and it has telephone numbers of it, but on the website, the telephone numbers are not the same. Okay, and on the website, they have a list of all the people, like the staff of the company, but this individual's name is not listed as staff. Okay. So what would you do with that?
I would search how to check if an insurance company is real.
Well, I think the company is real. My question is this really a representative of that company, or are they using that company to reach out to me for me to call him on another telephone? This telephone number that he has on the letter is different than on the website. And then being able to who knows what would they want to do with me once they get me on the phone, right?
So I would search verify licensing and registration insurance company in Florida. And right there, you go to Florida Office of Insurance Regulation.
Right.
Right. And then from there, you search the company name. And we're right here, active company search. And from here, you'd be able to get, my guess is, the proper contact information. And then all that data that you're seeing from an organic search could be legit.
Yeah.
But the letter itself, does the letter itself reflect whatever website contact information there might be?
The website, yes.
Yeah.
But the telephone numbers are not.
Okay.
And the website lists a whole bunch of people that are like working for the company, but does not mention this individual.
Yeah. I would start with an active company search at companysearch.myfloridacfo.gov and go from there and contact the company directly and ask them, hey, I got a letter, is this legit? And start from there. That's the direction I'd go.
Yeah, that's what I did. I just called them, went to voicemail, but I left them, a message to call me back because I said, I think there's a possibility here of a fraud. Please call me, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, okay. So let's assume that it is a fraud. Could be, right? And this guy is getting me to call him. He claims to represent this insurance group. What kind of information could he extract from me in trying to say, okay, I need this information to come up with a better, give you the best quotes. What information could he pull up and ask of me that I could give to him that could really be detrimental?
So name, address, phone number, email address, physical address of the property, all of that data is relatively public information. I mean, heck, they have your physical mailing address. They know who you are. What could they do with that data? It really just boils down to how much further they could potentially socially engineer you, and whether or not you may set up an ACH via your banking account and start, sending monthly payments to this shell company that doesn't really provide any insurance. That's really what that scam boils down to, them getting paid in some way. Not necessarily posing as you and stealing your identity, but more so getting you to pay into this shell company that provides no services whatsoever. That's where something like that ultimately goes. And that would be a very successful operation for this shell company, providing zero insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only thing I found on the internet that links this guy with that company is that someone made a post. Someone's asking for recommendations for good insurance brokers or agents, and it was actually the person that put this up there it was not even a picture of a person. It was sort of like a cartoon character that made this comment. Contact this person from this company because they'll give you a great rate. But that kind of thing can also be easily posted by someone that's connecting a fraud, just to kind of give them some sort of credibility, and also people might call that number.
Yeah, at this point, legit looking website, phone numbers, email addresses, we can't trust any of that.
Right.
Even if the information via the letter matches the information on the website, that still doesn't make it legit.
Right.
So the best course of action at this point is to contact the actual government agency that handles the licensing for those entities, getting the contact information from there. And then from there, even if it's legit in Florida, work your way up to the actual either state run or U.S. run, whatever it might be, at the highest levels, to find out, go back as far as you can to the highest levels to find out the legitimacy of it before you lay down any banking information.
Yeah. I'll let you know next time what pans out with this, but I'm really suspicious.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry, it just came in. I just had to talk about this.
All right, so let's finish off with the 23andMe recommendations here. So what I would suggest you do, if in fact any of the pod broadcast audience has set yourself up with 23andMe, that's fine, no harm, no foul. But we would suggest delete your account data. This article talks about, and you could Google how to delete account data from 23andMe, and Google's Gemini will cough up all kinds of recommendations. It's easy enough for you to do. Otherwise, to ensure your genetic information is not transferred to potential new owners, consider deleting. This can be done through your account settings on the 23andMe website. Opt out of research if you prefer that your data not be used for research purposes. You can update your consent preferences in your account settings and request sample destruction. Customers concerned about physical DNA samples can contact 23andMe to request their destruction. Details on how to make this request are available on the company's website. So again, any of you who have done this, that's fine. You did what you did, not what I would do, but you did it. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But at this point, I would probably delete it because, you just don't know legally that whoever potentially gets access to that data, new company, whatever the case is, legally they have a responsibility to protect it. Ethically, morally, they may do things differently. You just don't know. So don't worry about it, but do something about it.
There you go. Yeah. What about traveling to Mexico, Robert?
Oh, Peter. Okay. So Mexico resort claims jailed Michigan couple encouraged other guests to commit fraud amid timeshare dispute. So a Mexican resort claims a Michigan couple was arrested in Cancun, which I just came back for. See my lovely tan? And thrown into a foreign maximum security prison on fraud charges, publicly encouraged others to do the same. So Christy and Paul Akio, both 60, have been locked up and held without bond in Mexico since they were arrested on outstanding criminal fraud charges while going through customs on March 4th. The couple's children have claimed that they were arrested as retaliation for challenging charges made on an American Express card by the Palace Company. However, the resort chain claims the couple knew what they were doing and allegedly offered to help others do the same. Paul and Christy Akio fraudulently disputed legitimate credit card charges and publicly encouraged others to do the same. A spokesperson for the Palace Company said Mexican authorities have also claimed Christie went against their contract with the resort and spread the word on Facebook about how they committed fraud against the hotel chain. The company said in a press release. The couple is accused of defrauding the vacation company while they had a timeshare membership at the resort in Cancun between 21 and 22, disputing 13 charges made on their credit cards, totaling around $117,000. They claim the resort breached their contract, which guaranteed them preferential rates, and they began not receiving certain benefits. Man, oh man. The credit card company ended up siding with the couple. The money was returned, and their membership to the Palace company was canceled. The company allegedly made a total of 1,570 bookings during their membership, which began in 2016, and would advertise their room for use on Facebook, and they weren't using it, according to the Daily Mail. The company says it canceled the benefits and upcoming stays, and they caught on to what they were allegedly doing. Okay, so look at, first and foremost, where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay, I don't know if this company did anything unethical and or illegal. It might have been one or the other. One way or the other, like when you buy into a timeshare, there are rules and regs. I bought into a timeshare back in 2003. We just came back from our timeshare, and there's no question about it. Timeshare companies are in many ways shady, sometimes unethical, but what they do 9 out of 10 times is legal. You may not like the contract that you got into, but 9 out of 10 times it's legal. And it sounds to me like there's some unethical stuff going on here, bordering on illegal. Peter, what is your, I guess, synopsis here and advice?
Well, my biggest takeaway from this is, you're right, we don't know. I mean, there's likely something, there could be some gray area here about what actually this couple did. Did they break the law? What did they? So there's a whether or not they actually broke a serious law, and it's probably not the point here. The point is they went back to Mexico after they knew that there had been a serious case against them, litigation against them. And I lived in Mexico for over 3 years. And I know that the due process in Mexico, it's different than what you find in the United States. We can't go to any country overseas and believe that we're going to be treated the same way as you'd be treated in the United States. The laws are different. The process is different. And what they should have done, and I recommend this to anybody who's going to travel to Mexico or any other country, if you have had legal issues there in the past, don't assume that there's nothing that's been outstanding. I highly recommend that you have someone do a check of the records for you in that particular country to see whether or not your name appears there, whether there might be an arrest warrant open on you. If they would have done this, and it's relatively easy, you could contract a private investigator that has ties with the investigators in Mexico. They could have easily checked the databases, and they could have found this out, and then they could have decided whether or not they wanted to go there. They probably wouldn't have gone if they would have found that there was an arrest warrant out for them. Now it's just, it's unfortunate for them in the sense that might be there for a long time.
So 13 credit card charges were disputed, totaling around $117,000. That's significant. That is significant. And then the couple allegedly made a total of 1,570 bookings during their membership, which began in 2016, and would advertise their room for use on Facebook when they weren't using it. Like, they were integrated in a way that most people who own a timeshare aren't. And it seems that like 1,570 bookings allegedly, like there's something going on there. Like they didn't just go on vacation. This was like a side hustle or their main hustle where they, they had something going on that was way more than just disputing a charge on a credit card or not being happy with their timeshare. Like they did something. There's something going on here.
No, I agree. I'm not trying to defend them at all. I'm just saying that.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So look at when I go to Mexico, because we vacation. I mean, it's easy. It's warm. It's right there. It's a 4-hour, 5-hour flight for us. It's no big deal. Like it's the easiest, warmest least expensive trip that a family of four can take to a place that's on the water. From my experience, and we've been doing it now for 20 years, and I love going to Mexico. It's great. We have a blast. My kids love it. My girls speak Spanish, and to whoever they is serving them or whoever they're interacting with or whatever the case is, cab drivers, whatever it is, the staff. It's great. We have a lot of fun. All that being said, like I don't go to Mexico, number one, without making an additional investment in medical care, medical insurance, so that if something happens to me or my girls or my honey, we are covered medically beyond just regular health insurance. Because if something happens to me, a heart attack for that example, they don't take your health insurance in Mexico. They say they will leave you on a hospital gurney to die unless you provide them with a credit card with a $50,000 limit on it, which might mean a few credit cards. So I go to Mexico armed with medical insurance. I mean, I don't know if it's the right terminology to say this. Are they in fact considered a third world country?
I think so, in my opinion.
Yeah, so that would make sense, right? And they don't want to treat you unless you're going to pay. I get that. Like I can't actually hold that against them. And so I go with that insurance, and I go with $50,000. I go with $75,000 in credit cards all the time, every time we go, just in case, and to get med-vaced out just in case, because it's my responsibility. I'm the one that is responsible in case something happens to me or somebody in my family. And I know that, and I'm ready to deal with that. Things are different in Mexico than they are here. So I go there with that understanding. And I think that this couple probably, had an idea, but they were, it seems to me like, 1,570 bookings. Like I book once a year. I mean, they had something going on. I mean, that's like astonishing.
Yeah. Another piece of advice or warning regarding travel to Mexico is always, for a long time now, has been do not use random taxis. Make sure that if you're going to have a taxi, that there's a taxi stand or a radio taxi that's called for the taxi to arrive, because there's a high percentage, maybe 40% of the taxis that are on the road are called pirated taxis. They're not paying any fee to the government. They will paint the number of their license on the car. And it doesn't mean that they're all bad. Some of them are just trying to have a side hustle here, but there's a number of them also that will, especially if they find the right individual, they will take that individual to a series of ATM machines to have them take all the money out. And I mean, it can get really, really bad. There was actually a case in Cancun about 4 or 3 years ago when there was a couple that had finished their trip, and they were getting ready to go to the airport to fly back, and the husband wanted to go get a pack of cigarettes. So you remember that one, right? And he just hailed a random taxi, and he asked, his Spanish was pretty weak, but he said he wanted to go to a store or whatever. The guy took him to a store, and then when he walked in there, he was hijacked by 4 people, and they took him out. Actually, they pretty much beat him up. They used a machete. They cut him up. He was left for dead. He's lucky that he survived, and it was all because he just took this random taxi to go get a packet of cigarettes, despite the advice to the contrary.
Yeah. All right. Oh, so Peter, man, this is a crazy show today.
It sort of is. We're in a crazy world, aren't we?
Yeah. All right. So tell everybody what you got going on.
Well, I'll continue to talk a lot about these type of things, as well as counterintelligence issues. I give presentations to groups as well as the organizations. You can find me at counterintelligence-institute.com, as well as on LinkedIn. And 2 books: Confessions of a CIA Spy, The Art of Human Hacking, and Why Are You Messing With Me? A Senior Survival Guide on Fraud, Privacy, and Security. Both of those are available on Amazon.
Yeah.
You, Robert?
And I am available at protectnowllc.com. Peter, I got to say, 2025 has been so far my best year in business since 2019.
That's great.
So, here is why I think that's the case. So 2019 was a great year. You know, it was in 2020 was on its way to being an even better year. And then obviously COVID hit, and what then took hold was, number one, they just stopped having live in-person trainings. So that just cut me off at the knees. And number two, e-learning basically check the box compliance e-learning took over. And check the box compliance e-learning not only took over, but those companies have just made bank, and their valuations have just skyrocketed. And good for them. And phishing simulation is needed, and it's necessary, and it's a significant part of security awareness training, especially when it comes to compliance. But the pendulum is swung drastically the opposite direction, because it's still getting worse. It's not getting any better. When you talk about $600,000 pig butchering crypto scams, it's crippling people. Companies are looking at their internal people who are just as affected by those same scams in their personal lives, and then being bamboozled in their professional lives by responding to a text message who they think is coming from IT, and it's not. Phishing simulation training is impersonal. It doesn't really affect the learner. It doesn't really move the needle in the way that it should. And so the pendulum is swinging in the direction of live training, because these companies are like, yeah, phishing simulation is good, but it's just not really solving our problems at all. And
you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, you know, hey.
So I think we'll be busy. We'll be busy for a while.
Right. But at the same time, I would be perfectly fine finding another vocation should we solve the security awareness problem.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a while. Me too. We keep on the good fight, though, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Peter.
Any last words? Howard, take care.
Any last words? Last words?
Keep safe and help each other to keep safe.
You're a good guy, Peter. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.